Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the homestead. Mark and I is down here at our dry little cabin on our property this morning, and we have started some of our seedlings already. And you know, whether you are new to gardening or you've had years of experience, it's about that time of the season to go ahead and start your seedlings if you haven't already. And because we live in zone 2, we need to be an early bird. We have to really start our seeds early because that can really mean the difference of having a super great harvest or a non-existent harvest. And today we're going to be sharing some basic things that every gardener should know when beginning their seedlings.
Let me add one thing there, sweetheart. I don't think she mentioned it, but this morning it was negative 28 outside. So Mother Nature threw us one heck of a curveball here, or kick in the teeth as she likes to do. And so this is something that you have to take into consideration, especially for the northern climates, about pre-planting and doing your seedlings. So that's why we're doing this video.
And we also had a little dusting of snow also.
Yep.
And we had our friendly neighbor come over too and visit us this morning, that cow moose.
Yeah, I forgot about her.
And you know, it's pretty amazing when we live among these beautiful creatures, but you do have to respect, this is their area. So we really try to just leave them alone. But she was, like I said, a cow moose, and she was wanting to get some of the hay that we feed some of our animals, but we just let her go. So anyways, we are going to get started on this, and hopefully you guys have already been planning your garden, because that is really crucial to having a super great harvest, is to plan your garden early. Now on our homestead, we are always constantly planning, because that is really going to make the difference. And I mentioned it in one of my other videos before that, keep a garden journal, because, good gardeners did not become good by just making all the right choices.
And they didn't do it overnight either.
They made mistakes, and by keeping a journal, you can record all the mistakes and, different things in your journal about your garden.
And you get to record the successes, and that's important too, because sometimes you'll forget about a success.
So number one, first thing we're going to talk about is your lighting. It is really crucial to have proper lighting. Now we do have these lights here that we picked up at Lowe's, but they have bulbs in there that are specific to growing. And you will definitely need some type of good lighting. So number 2 is going to be good air circulation.
Very important, honey.
Yes. Now as soon as your seedlings start to appear, if you do not have proper air circulation, you can have problems like dampening off. So to have good air circulation, you want to make sure that you do not put the air directly on your seedlings, because they are really still fragile at that time. And so try not to put the air directly on them, which if you overcrowd your little pots and stuff, that can cause dampening off, because they're not getting that proper air circulation. So when you go to plant your seeds, remember only 1 or 2 seeds per pot, because it is easier to fix problems when they first start than fix them later.
So very true. Words to live by.
So number 3 is your temperature. Really warm temperature to start your seedlings, anywhere from 65 to 70.
Now let's stop and just say one thing real quick. 65 to 70. That does not mean crank it up to 85 degrees where you're doing your seeds. You'll kill them.
Now, you do not want to make it so hot, because if you do, your plants are gonna become leggy and spindly. So, what we try to do is have a temperature between 65 and 70 during the day, and then at night we will drop it down to about 60, because everything that we have is on a timer.
It's on a timer, and it's on a temperature probe for the mats that are underneath here. So it keeps that nice consistent temperature. If we didn't have that, the mats would just keep heating and keep heating and keep heating, and your soil temperature would get too hot. So key point there. Okay, so we've talked about temperature.
Number 4 is water.
Very important. Now, let's start off by saying, don't overwater your plants. Okay, if it's a small seedling, it needs small water. If it's a big seedling, it needs bigger water. Try to water from the bottom up if you can. Sometimes that's hard, I get it, but if you can water from the bottom up, it causes the seedlings to form better roots and stronger roots to pull that moisture up. In the long run, that helps you out. Another thing is when you water, you want it tepid water. You don't want cool water or cold water that cold stresses or cold shocks your seedlings, and that's not good for them. I found that out the hard way one year because, like I said, we have 34-degree water coming out of our tap. I didn't know any better, and I killed off a whole tray. And boy, was she mad at me. So just saying, tepid water.
And one other thing, make sure that you do not use water from a source where you have a water softener, because sodium, your little seedlings are sensitive to sodium buildup. So just remember that when you go to water your plants.
Right. So let's talk a minute about soil real quick, since we're kind of in the watering game here. When you fill your seed trays full, I'll give you an example real quick here. We'll use this tray. When you use your seed tray, you want to fill these pots completely up. You don't want to skimp on that soil. So make sure they're topped off, and then put your seeds in there, and your seeds will go into a depth of 2 to 3 times the diameter of that seed. So give an example. If it's one of those itty-bitty little mustard seeds, then you're only going to be about 1/8 of an inch deep. And if it's a pumpkin seed, you're going to be between a 1/2 inch and 1 inch deep. So yes, real quick, I'll notice that the camera's kind of, going a little bit dark here. I want to apologize for that. It's these lights in here, and it's kind of hard for the sensor to keep the light going just the way it needs to be. So just kind of bear with that. We're not professionals at photography, so. But that's for the soil, and that gives you an idea of how deep to plant your plants if they're not listed.
And one other thing, we always try to use some type of organic soil. You really do not want to use soil that came from your garden, because a lot of diseases can hibernate into the soil, even though it has been frozen. And you might be introducing some type of insect into your soil. So always try to start your seedlings with a good organic matter, a good organic soil.
Basically, sterile soil. Now, let's stop real quick here. We're talking about a seed starting mix here. You notice there's nowhere on here it says with fertilizer, will feed, okay? So we're going to talk about feed now, which is step 5. When you feed your plants, you do not want to add any fertilizer to your little seedlings until after you get your first set of true leaves. So when that sprout comes up, you'll have a set of leaves there, okay? Those are the seed leaves, okay? They're temporary. They're basically to get a little bit of energy going so it'll build the root system, so it'll continue to germinate and grow. The next set of leaves are your true leaves. At that point, you want to use a good all-around fertilizer, 20-20-20. get that all nice and diluted down, pour it in. That's what you need. You only need to do that once a week with the fertilizer, not every day. Use that until your plants start to bloom. And at that point, you can increase from 20-20-20 to 20-50-30. That's for your blooms, and that helps support that and give you more blossoms, which obviously create the fruit, which would be beans or tomatoes or something like that. So just kind of a general rule of thumb. Now, certain plants will take different fertilizers. That's where a little bit of research comes into play, but like I said, that's a good rule of thumb.
Now, guys, I have to tell you that I do have a seed fetish. And I do like to push my limits when it comes to starting my seeds and growing nice, huge, having a nice harvest. I like to push it to the limits, as in sometimes I do compact gardening. And, you know, that's really important to get the most out of our gardening area.
Yes.
Plus, you know, in our area, we have to really be careful what varieties we carry, because we do live in a latitude and northern climate. But I try to go with seeds that sometimes is not really made for our zone, just to push those boundaries a little bit and see what I really can grow. And that's how I had my wonderful, huge squash and pumpkin harvest. I really pushed it to the limits, and it was wonderful.
So let me add something real quick. So obviously we're in SHEDWARS21, okay? And there's some great people in this group. Let me give a shout out to Will It Grow and the Arkansas Woodcutter. These guys have organized this, and it's kind of a competition, as you know. Or if you don't know, it's still a competition between two different sets of groups and different gardeners. Now, the beauty of this is there's a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere of the SHEDWARS21. This will allow more people to learn based on, first off, what hemisphere they're in. And so we're just going to deal with the northern hemisphere now, because obviously we're in the northern hemisphere. But anyways, there's a lot of people in this that are from different areas. So I'm sure that if you go down these videos, you're going to find somebody that's in your area, whether it be Alaska, Arkansas, the New England area, maybe Texas, California, Georgia. It doesn't matter. Somebody is going to be inside of that same zone you are, and there's good information there. So that's our shout out for SHEDWARS21 and the group.
And you guys, we are going to be super busy this year because we already have an NRCS high tunnel, but we're going to be getting another new high tunnel in, and you'll be able to come along with that. And we've got several garden beds around the property that I grow in. And so we're going to be moving a lot of stuff around, and we're going to be doing a lot more. And we've also got the NRCS fencing to put in too.
Right, and a water well.
Which has really saved us a ton of money. And so throughout our videos, we are going to try to give you some do's and don'ts and tips and tricks for gardening. So don't forget to subscribe, and we really hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Yep.
And hopefully you've learned something. So
give us that thumbs up, and
bye now.
Bye.